I'm lost in darkness, searching for light. Every step forward feels like a fight. Shadows of doubt creep in my mind, but I refuse to surrender. I must find a way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. The weight of the world crushes me down. Fear and uncertainty all around. But I deep find inner strength to face the trials length by length. A way to rise above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes, like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my heart reborn. I've walked through fire and emerged scarred, but wiser, stronger, and unmarred. My existence is a test of will, of trials overcome, of a soul made bold. The way of the world's above the pain, to overcome, to break the chains. My existence is a test of will. I won't be broken, I'll stand still. Oh, made bold. Through every storm, I'll find my way. Through every night, a brighter day. I'll rise from ashes like a phoenix born. My spirit unbroken, my spirit unborn. Day to day, nothing changes. All I want is a moment to think clearly, but thoughts come unrelenting, consuming every waking moment. My mind binds me and I can't escape. I shout for help when no one hears me. One day I feel I'll just disappear. Lost in this chaos, I'm searching for.
Hey, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome to the Dirt Sheet Radio NXT Post-Show Rewind. I am Tyler, the pro wrestling hipster, joined by little Molly Holly, the long-haired chihuahua. CJ was unable to make the show due to some unforeseen circumstances that arose this evening, so it is just going to be myself and little Molly Holly here speaking NXT with all y'all tonight. And we had a heck of a show here this evening. The go-home show for Heatwave taking place this Sunday. NXT was in Philadelphia tonight, and we've got a lot to cover, huh, Molly? Like a lot. But guys, before we can get into it and get into the nitty-gritty, I have to, of course, give the shout-out to the us on the web that is dirtsheetradio.com for all of your pop culture, entertainment, professional wrestling needs. Check it out. Make it your homepage. Look at it multiple times a day, just like we do. Not because we're legally obligated, but because we love to, right? Right. But yeah, guys, great show tonight. Molly, you going over that way? You gonna? Okay, she's getting comfy. But yeah, excuse me, a little cough there. All right, so as I said, we were coming live from Philadelphia tonight, and we had a lot on the docket here this evening. Our main event, of course, to be Javon Evans and Trick Williams facing off to determine the number one contender to see who will face Obafemi at this weekend's Heatwave PLE. Also, Fatal Influence taking on the Elegance Brand in a 6-woman tag. Ricky Saints taking on Ricky Saints taking on Jasper Troy. I was looking at Javon's picture when I said that. And the Philly Street Fight with Inamura and Josh Briggs. And then, of course, we had a couple advertised talk segments there with a peace treaty between the United States and Canada. I guess it was supposed to be facilitated by Chelsea Green, Ethan Page, Tavion Heights, and Tyra Steele, and a face-to-face with Jordynne Grace and Blake Monroe. So the show started out pretty much, with a brawl. We were, backstage. Of course, they did the rundown, showed Philly, showed wrestlers filtering into the arena as they do every week. And I want to say, before I get into the opening match here, I really did like the venue. I thought it was a really just cool layout. It's nice when NXT goes on the road periodically and gets a little bit of a different backdrop than what the Performance Center provides. But as I said, we were off to the races immediately here. It was interrupted as they were announcing everyone coming in, and boom, Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura going at it backstage. The smoke still coming off of Josh Briggs' shoulder pad there. No entrances, no music. Just straight into the brawl here tonight, right into that Philadelphia street fight. I will say, while I understand what they were going for here in starting it off with just immediate violence in Philadelphia, birthplace of ECW. While I understand what they were going for here, I think it took a little bit of I don't know, it took a little bit away. I feel like the crowd was quiet for about the first third of this match. It started to wake up as the the violence intensified. But I feel like with such a cold open and Briggs and Inamura just kind of spilling through the entrance there, the crowd didn't quite know how to react. I don't think they knew if it was the match beginning yet. I mean, the bell rang, but yeah, I see what they were trying to do, but I don't know if it really helped the way they thought it would. But Briggs and Inamura here, they put on a fantastic street fight. Like I said, the crowd was pretty quiet for about that first third, but they were absolutely with it for that, second 2/3 of the match here. And Inamura, beloved. The crowd was behind him just full and wholeheartedly. But unfortunately, sometimes, the crowd being with you just isn't quite enough to get it done. And when it was all said and done in the end, even though it doesn't look the winner, Josh Briggs walks away with the victory here tonight in 15 minutes and 54 seconds. There were some really brutal, hellacious spots in this match. Of course, there were Slim Jim labeled tables because that's what we do now. But I'm trying to see if I thought I had a picture in here. But Inamura took this bump on the guardrail on the inside of the ring, and it was just brutal. Yeah, they laid it all out here, guys. Hard hitting, strong style, street fight. I would have preferred Inamura going over here, but I can't complain about a quality match. And again, I understand why Josh Briggs, went over here. He's definitely more of NXT's primary focus between the two guys, and I'm not really sure how the exchange with Noah works, and so I don't really know like how many dates or how much more Inamura is going to be here. Hopefully, for a long time. I mean, he did leave for like a couple weeks there and came back, but I'd like to see him stick around. And like I said, I would have liked to see him get the win here, but hey, I understand where their focus is. But you can't deny how popular Yoshiki Inamura has become since arriving at NXT. He's great. Everyone loves him. He's just such a like admirable everyman kind of guy. But he's badass at the same time. I like him. But all right. So from there, we went on to we did that thing that NXT does. So they had Ricky Saints make his entrance right after. Now, before they cut the commercial there, and as you can see, Briggs is walking up the ramp as Ricky is making his way down. And they shared a bit of a moment there, locked eyes as Josh Briggs walked past Ricky Saints. Vic Joseph on commentary did beg the question tonight, what is next for Josh Briggs? And maybe Ricky Saints is next for Josh Briggs. But all right, so coming back from the break, we had Trick Williams with Sarah Schreiber, and this was just Trick basically just tearing down Javon Evans. Just breaking him down at every point he could. Talking about how it's Trick in A. He's going to, go on to beat Oba, have 2 belts, be a 3-time NXT champion. And, he said that Javon Evans is absolutely crazy thinking that he can beat Trick Willie tonight. But solid promo. I always like when they do that, especially when it's it's going to be the main event. Give promo time to each guy or each gal in the match, which they did here tonight with this. We'll get to Javon's promo when we get to it. But yeah, I always like that. It always has just a little more importance to the main event. But all right, so from there, we are back in the arena, and Jasper Troy making his entrance. And I'm not sure how I feel about the chains, because, I think maybe one of them's real, but also they kind of look like the sort of, Halloween chains that, you wrap around your mailbox around this spooky season. But regardless of questionable ring, I don't want to say ring attire, I guess, accessories, dude's a monster. Absolute beast. He is huge. They even made point on commentary of mentioning that Ricky Saints is about 100 pounds lighter than Jasper Troy. And so in the match, this was a lot of offense by Jasper Troy here, which again makes sense. They're trying to showcase him being just an absolute beast. And he is an absolute beast. Same energy here, guys. If you know, you know. But it was a lot of hard-hitting offense from Jasper Troy. But they had Ricky hit a tornado DDT on the outside, get Troy back into the ring, hit another tornado DDT, and he was able to get the victory in 9 minutes and 11 seconds. This was a great match, really. This is probably Jasper Troy's best match since arriving at NXT. I was impressed here with him. I will say, I think he needs to tone down the whole, rah thing a little bit. He was drooling a lot. It's not very becoming. I think it's a little. I'm not gonna say it's borderline cartoony when he does the whole nah thing. It's absolutely cartoony. So pull that back a little bit. Maybe a little more serious, because you don't need to carry on like that when you're legitimately that big and scary looking. All right. So just calm it a little bit. I will say it was definitely a contrast of styles between the two in this match too. Like I said, just Ricky was a lot smaller than him, but nonetheless, solid match. And from there we head back to the backstage area where Hank and Tank were talking to Ava, and they were kind of patting themselves on the back for not breaking her rule about interfering in the tag match last week, because they waited until the match was over. So, and she agreed with them that was right. So, I love Hank and Tank. I don't know if they're going to be retaining this belt Sunday, though. They were here trying to figure out who of the DarkState they would be facing Sunday, and Ava said that she, just like everyone else, does not know yet. So that's how DarkState likes to keep things. I really don't understand how, from a contracted wrestler standpoint, they're allowed to do that. Ava's in control of the brand. She's the general manager. I don't think that they should be dictating that sort of policy. But nonetheless. So it's her show. What am I going to do? But from there, Ava was approached by the Elegance Brand. Just bringing some elegance to Tuesday nights on the CW, of course being the TNA Knockout Tag Team Champions. And their personal concierge was a little bit concerned with Masha Slamovich being the special guest referee here this evening. He said that she had, a divisive look about her, that a look of bias as she left the room, and maybe a little bit, maybe a little. But this was a fun little segment. I enjoy Ash by Elegance. You guys might remember her as Dana Brooke. Um, but once upon a time, Vic Joseph did not slip on that tonight. Once in a while, or once upon a time, when Ash by Elegance did make an appearance on NXT, he did nearly call her Dana Brooke. But old habits, right? It's wrestling. We change names all the time here. But all right. So ahead of the break, they teased that Jordynne Grace would be making her way out to that face to face with Blake Monroe. And yeah, so back from the break, Jordynne Grace made her way out. They added a new little bit to the front of her music. So the crowd was kind of quiet until the music started, and then good pop for Jordynne Grace here. And she came out and kind of cut one of those lore building promos, talking about all the setbacks that she had encountered, and how she conquered those, and how she's been in hundreds of locker rooms all around the world, and how everywhere she went she won titles, and she assumed that would be the same thing here at NXT. But she's had setbacks, and she talked about having friendships in wrestling, and how friendships in wrestling always end the same way, but she was hoping that this time it would be the exception. Stupid, I know, she said. But before she could get too deep into this, she was, of course, interrupted by Blake Monroe. Blake Monroe, who was approaching the ring with a contract in hand, as well as a flank of security with her. And she pointed out the security. She said that, she needed that to make sure that that Jordynne didn't do anything silly. And she announced that she had a contract worked up. And it stated that if Jordynne Grace lays a hand on her, if she harms her, attacks her in any way, the match on Sunday will be off. And the two argued back and forth here. It was a little meandering. I don't know if I'm, alone in that feeling, but I felt that, I don't know, they just couldn't quite find the pacing between the two of them on the back and forth on this promo. I felt that, Jordynne's solo portion of that was pretty well done. But once Blake got out there, I don't know what happened, like if there was some just a distraction to her or something, but I really felt like they just didn't quite mesh on the repartee here. But as I said, Blake stated that the contract that she had says that Jordynne can't touch her before then. And Jordynne says that she doesn't have to touch her to show what she's going to do to her on Sunday. And then Jordynne Grace beats the ever-living snot out of a whole bunch of security guards, which isn't really fair. Did they really sign up for that? It's not a match. This is like... This is something that needs to be looked into from a legality standpoint. Maybe we can get Luca Crucifino up. We need to get a hold of him anyway for something that something that Jordynne, tweeted here just a little bit. But they're just out there, why attack them? This can't be okay. This has to be constituted as assault, right? I don't know. But this is where things get a little sticky. After Jordynne cleared the ring of all of those security guards, she then grabbed the wrist of Blake Monroe, the wrist of the hand that's holding the microphone. And, she told her that Sunday she would find out what ugly really is. Now, here's the thing. The way that Blake stated the contract that she had was that if Jordynne Grace laid a finger on her, so much as laid a finger on her, the match would be off. Now, it looks like a finger. 5, at least. Yeah. So I was questioning that. It seemed a little odd. But Jordynne was quick to tweet, you guys know a contract has to be signed by both parties to be legally binding, right? And this was in response to some understandable chatter on the Twitter sphere regarding that. And honestly, I think we should probably double check with Luca Crucifino. He is the resident lawyer at NXT. But so they really kind of dug themselves out of that pretty darn quickly, and it's probably best that they did that, because that would have been a little bit of a sticky wicket there. But all right, so from there, we went to the backstage area where Fatal Influence was having a little conversation with one another. And they were approached by Lainey Reed, who was really kind of sucking up to JC Jane here. So I don't know, maybe Lainey's gunning for one of those lieutenant positions in Fatal Influence. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I like what they're doing with Lainey's character here, because they haven't really defined it down super hard yet, but she seems to be leaning a little more conniving, a little more underhanded. But honestly, there's a lot of similarities between her and Fallon Henley. So maybe that's the game here. She's looking to replace Fallon, maybe little single white female type thing. If y'all remember that movie, it's a bit of a dated reference now, I guess. But after she sucked up, she walked away, and then up came Sol, Ruka, and Zarya. And they had a bit of a little back and forth here, unkind words, and off went Fatal Influence to prepare for their match. And as Sol and Zarya were leaving, Lainey approached them and spoke to Sol and said, at least JC Jane defends both of her titles. After Lainey walked away, Sol Ruka looked at Zarya and said that she felt the need for speed. I thought speed ended. I didn't even think this was still a thing, but Sol's still carrying the championships around. So they're referring to her as a double champion. So I don't know. But all right, so from there we had the NXT Spotlight. It is, of course, a spotlight sponsored by a particular insurance agency, but they pay CW for that. They don't pay us. So I will not be saying which insurance company it is. But it was the Spotlight on Javon Evans, and he was backstage with Sarah Schreiber, where he had been working out on the steps, preparing for tonight's main event. He said he's not surprised that Trick Williams abandoned him last week in that 8-man tag, just left him to get beat down. And he said, to be a champion, he's got to start thinking like a champion. And to get to Oba, he has to get through Trick first. He said Trick's trying to be a lot of things, but Evans just wants to be a wrestler. He's pointing out the Trick wanted to be a face of two brands, a rapper, all these different things, but all Javon Evans wants to be is a wrestler. So all of his focus is just 100% on that goal. Loved this promo. Javon Evans is very, very young. And he is so gifted in the ring, and he's getting a really good grasp on his character, and he's getting damn good on the mic. I think that he's I don't want him to pull him up to the main roster too soon. He needs to, still, cook down in NXT for probably a couple years at least. But I think he's got a big, bright future ahead of him. Just guy is just outstanding. But all right, so from there, we were back into the Met in Philadelphia, where the Elegance Brand was making their entrance. That was Ash by Elegance, Heather by Elegance, and M by Elegance. A lot of elegance, of course, with their concierge. And then a pretty subdued reaction, I'm going to say. As this match went on, the crowd definitely got into it. But I don't know. I felt like the Elegance Brand didn't quite get the pop I was expecting them to get. I think they're a pretty solid team. But after them, out came Fatal Influence. And again, Masha Slamovich was the special guest referee for this. And and the match was underway. This was, I don't know how to say this without sounding maybe a little derogatory here. This was surprisingly good. I don't know what I was quite expecting out of this 6-woman tag here tonight, but this was really solid. Just bell to bell, good action. They told a solid story in the ring. The concierge getting ejected by Masha Slamovich, which is, of course, just going to reinforce how he feels about Masha Slamovich with the face of bias. But just great action here. In the end, when it was all said and done, Fatal Influence picked up the victory in 10 minutes and 48 seconds. This was a lot of fun here, guys. Good amount of time. It didn't feel like 10 and a half minutes. It really flew by. Just solid action. And again, I don't want to sound like mean when I say this, but it was surprisingly good. Sometimes that's how it's going to be. Maybe that's how they felt. Maybe they thought expectations weren't super high going into it, so they went out there and just put on a hell of a show. But really, really great 6-woman tag there. A lot of times I say if you have time to watch one match from NXT, you need to watch everything tonight, though. Just great show from top to bottom. But all right, so after that match, we were back in the backstage area where Mr. Charlie Dempsey was chatting up Kendall Gray. And, first I thought he was like kind of, trying to sweet talk her a little bit, maybe, try to get some more people into the No Quarter Catch crew. But he kind of settled into, giving her unneeded advice. And as he was doing this, Rin Sinclair approached and she explained to Charlie that giving that kind of advice to someone who was 61-0 in college is a little unnecessary. To which he responded, if he'd been in college, he'd have gone 600-0. Kendall Gray took off, and the calling walked up and got in Charlie Dempsey's face. And they kind of gave him a lot of crap for losing his group. The No Quarter Catch crew's gone. It's just him and Ren at this point. And Dempsey wanted to take him on, and they goaded him into a match. And the calling walked off. Goodness gracious. Dempsey may have gotten himself more into he can handle here. I mean, it's a 2-on-1 match with the calling. And Rin Sinclair tried to lecture him about this, but Charlie's going to do what Charlie's going to do. So, hey, you know what? If anybody can beat two people on the calling at once, it's Charlie Dempsey, right? Right? He's going to get the shit kicked out of him, isn't he? Poor Charlie. But ahead of the break, we teased the USA-Canada peace treaty. I was really hoping, had high hopes for the talks here tonight at this summit. But as we came back from the break, we of course had Chelsea Green and All Ego Ethan Page and the Secret Purvis making their way down to the ring for the summit here, the peace talks. I really dug how they mashed Chelsea Green's theme into Ethan Page's. Thought it worked really well here. And crowd was booing him. Although booing Ethan, cheering Chelsea, that's kind of the thing here. And after they hit the ring, out came Tyra May Steele and Tavion Heights, the Olympians, really. I like this. I like them as a pairing. Tyra May Steele, gold medalist. But as I was saying, I had high hopes for the peace talks here, and it really wasn't to be. This they just ended up bickering back and forth. It was an argument about superiority between Canadian athletes and American athletes, and how Chelsea was saying that they're interrupting her, and of course they're interrupting her because they're American and Americans are rude, and you know what, we kind of are. I understand it, but it's not her place to say it, is it? It is. But this peace discussion broke down very quickly into arguments, yelling, and that, of course, brought out our general manager, Ava. And Ava finally pulled the trigger here, went the direction that I think we all knew we were going, and she made a match for Heatwave, in which Tavion Heights and Tyra May Steele will be taking on Chelsea Green and All Ego Ethan Page in a mixed tag. And this led to a brawl between the four. There were double ankle locks by Tavion and Tyra. And they cleared the ring of the heels, and I'm pretty happy that they've got that match Sunday. That should be good. Should be a good match. It's interesting to me that they had Tyra May Steele. She won LFG. She was on NXT for like a week. I think she maybe had one match, and then she kind of disappeared off to Evolve for a little bit, and then they brought her back into onto NXT proper within the last couple weeks. But I like it. I like this pairing. This is no disrespect to Evolve, but like she's too good to be on Evolve right now. She's good on the mic, and I want to point out that during this segment, she's sitting across, the dais there from Chelsea Green and Ethan Page. Both Chelsea and Ethan are very, very good on the mic, and I think Tyra held her own here. She was a little stiff back in the NXT Level Up days, and that makes sense. It's quite the start. But she's really, really finding herself here, and it just felt very natural the way she spoke and bit back at them with counter arguments, and it was good. She did a good job here tonight. But all right. So from there, we're going to head back to the backstage area once again. where we had Miles Bourne having a conversation with Ricky Saints. He was asking Ricky what was up with that look with Josh Briggs, and Ricky said he didn't know, and he walked away. Incoming as Lexis King walked up to a chorus of boos from the audience, which is really fantastic. I'm glad that Lexis is getting that heat now. And Lexis, he approached Miles here, and he, said that he's sorry. He shouldn't have made light of his condition. And, he said it's incredible that he's so successful being both deaf and blind. And, he got a little bit of a face from Miles there. And again, Alexa said, he's like, I just got to give you props for beating me, man. That's impressive that you can beat me when you're both deaf and blind. And Miles was about to correct him. He's like, man, I'm only deaf. And then Lexis King sprayed something in his eyes. So I don't know. Was it Rick Martel's arrogance, perhaps? But so clearly this was him setting up. This is almost like, hey, you want a Hertz donut type of a deal. But good segment. I'm enjoying this ongoing feud between Lexis King and Miles Bourne. King is disliked enough that Miles will continue to get good pops and a good solid babyface reaction to him. That not that Miles wouldn't get that reaction with most people, but it's smart to pair him in there with someone as despised as King is. But yeah, maybe King sprayed him in the face with whatever makes his beard. That's also a possibility. Yeah, solid segment, and I guess we'll find out the condition of Miles Bourne maybe Sunday or next week, perhaps. But hopefully he's not like Sandman, and going to be blinded and walking around the streets of Philly with bandages over his face. Right? You can hope not. All right, back again to the backstage on a lovely couch, with a fuchsia purple lit room. This is an interesting backstage area. But we had Lola Vice talking with Kalani Jordynne, and Kalani was talking about how she was looking to win that match at Heatwave and become the #1 contender, and she hopes that Lola doesn't hold that against her when it happens. And Lola was like, "Oh no! So what'd you do this weekend?" And Kalani was talking about doing Pilates and jogging, and then Lola snapped back that she was competing at Triple Mania. So little clause between the two here. We'll say spirited competition between Kalani Jordynne and Lola Vice here, and as they were maybe about to get a little more argumentative with one another, up walks Lash Legend, who said that she saw Lola Vice at Triple Mania and she lost, and then Lola said that was the same thing about Legend and Nia Jax. Nia Jax beat her last week. Yeah, so it's this is a solid segment. I felt like they fit a lot into tonight's program. Let me bump my laptop. They fit a lot into tonight's program here. Uh, this. Oh, sorry. This is what I was trying to get to. Goodness gracious. This segment answered a question I had because there was no Jada Parker on air tonight, and it was at this point that Lash Legend complained that Jada Parker shouldn't be in the match Sunday because Jada Parker wasn't in the building. She didn't bother to show up. So that was an interesting thing here. I did notice the absence of Miss Parker. So I don't know if that's going to, change anything on Sunday or what, but all right. So staying in the backstage region, we were in Ava's office where she was approached by the DarkState. And they were discussing the match they have this coming Sunday for the tag team championships against Hank and Tank. And, they mentioned during this talk the name. The man whose name you say and he appears, Joe Hendry. And Joe Hendry popped out of a locker like a dweeb in high school. And he said, "Hey, you guys did it yourselves. You said my name." And he asked the DarkState which two of them, because he wanted to know, just like everyone else, was going to be going for the gold at Heatwave. And they told Joe Hendry that they would find out, just like the rest of the world does, Sunday at Heatwave. And as they were walking off, again, Cutler James, man, with that just bad verbiage and wording, he told Joe Hendry that he doesn't want them behind him. To which Joe said, "What a peculiar young man," and Ava agreed. But from there, the card at Heatwave was run down, going into the commercial break, and it was nearly set at this point. So we were still had to determine who was to be meeting Obafemi, because our main event has not happened yet, ladies and gentlemen. So we knew that it would be Trick Williams or Javon Evans taking on Obafemi, Hank and Tank taking on two members of the Dark State. The triple threat match between Ash by Elegance, JC Jane, and Masha Slamovich to determine the new TNA Knockouts champion. Or, I mean, I don't say new, but I feel like JC's not walking away with that belt this time around. The mixed tag match, of course, with Chelsea Green, Ethan Page taking on Tavion Heights, and Tyra Bay Steele. And then Blake Monroe taking on Jordynne Grace, and the triple threat between Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan, and Lola Vice to determine the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. And as I said, I don't know if Lash Legend is looking to replace Jada in that match, but she sounded kind of salty about it tonight, guys. Little bit salty. But all right, so from there, it was main event time, guys. Trick Williams taking on Javon Evans to determine the number one contender for the NXT Championship. Winner of this match, of course, going to face Moose this Sunday, and this was solid, guys. This was a hell of a match. It was a lot of selling and bumping by Javon Evans, particularly that table spot was just absolutely nasty. Javon Evans can move, he can bump, he can sell, and this was heavily dominated by Trick Williams, which makes sense. You know, he's a former NXT champion, the current TNA champion. You got to book the man to look strong in a situation like this. And, you know, I don't want to say they gave Javon a slip on a banana peel type victory, but you can't deny that the distraction from Mike Santana didn't directly lead to the victory for Javon Evans. And that is what happened. And perhaps Javon will repay the favor to Mike Santana at some point. But when it was all said and done, the young OG Javon Evans was the winner here tonight. 14 minutes, 49 seconds. Really great match. I'm really torn, honestly, here. You know, if they could do it. They could go with this. They could have Javon Evans, you know, just go to some, you know, really deep place to find, you know, that extra grit and gusto and beat Obafemi. I mean, there is a big size difference between the two of these guys, but they're establishing that Javon Evans is a capable wrestler, and I don't know how much longer that they really want Obafemi to hold that championship. I don't know how much longer Obafemi has to spend on NXT. You know, I'd been beating the drum for a while that, you know, let him stick around, let him develop, but he's pretty damn good, and he's done about everything he needs to do at NXT, honestly. You know, he's held a championship like, what, 90% of the time that he's been on the NXT roster. He's getting a massive babyface pop every time he comes out. The live audiences hang on every word. He's well spoken. He knows his character. He's got everything. So, for those reasons, I can absolutely see them going with Javon Evans on Sunday. But time will tell on that. But it was a hell of a main event. Yeah, I can't say nice enough things about it. But yeah, guys, NXT was quick tonight. Like I said, there was a lot of we had a lot of segments jammed in. Oh, I should say, of the main event too. Javon hit the cutter. 1, 2, 3. Vic Joseph was shouting, "Oh my God, Javon did cut." That was right at like 9:59 and 58 seconds when he got that pinfall, and then it cut the feed on the CW. The CW really needs to let them have just a hair of overrun. It'd be really nice, but I know the issue is, at least in here in the parts unknown Columbus, Ohio market, it's news right after, and the news doesn't like to be pushed around by anything, let alone professional wrestling. So, but yeah, they had to cut quick, but they were scrambling to get that finish in there right at the right at the buzzer. But yeah, like I said, fantastic NXT this evening. You know, a great go home show for Heatwave taking place this Sunday. Yeah, looking forward to it. I think they're going to put on a fantastic show. Like I said, 6-match card should be should be a really good show this Sunday night. And guys, I think from there, I think we can go into. Well, I'm doing it backwards, guys. Sorry, it's been a minute. I've been out of practice. It's been like a month since I've been on live with you guys. But it's the jobber of the night first, Tyler. The jobber of the night, the NXT jobber of the night. Sadness overwhelms, guys. The jobber of the night. So I had a couple choices here this evening, but I oh, one of the cats is yelling quite angrily about it. I gotta find the picture here. This is really not just tonight's jobber of the night. I feel that this is an ongoing issue that we're experiencing here with Mr. Cutler James, or James Cutler, if you like. I don't know what they're doing to him. I don't really understand why they're doing this to his character, but it's been several weeks in a row where he is just making the most absurd sounding threats. We're going to say borderline homoerotic. I mean, he's talking about, banging them on top over and over and over until they finish on top. He's going to be, right up their butt until they can't handle it anymore. And here he's talking about how you don't want him behind you. Yeah, Cutler, man, and DarkState actually called him out for it tonight. Finally, it's the first time I've heard him verbalize this against the man. But they were asking like, "What? Why the hell are you talking like this, man? Why are you saying these things?" But yeah. So Cutler, you're my jobber of the night tonight, man. I'm sorry, but good grief, sir. Like, think about what you're saying. Think about the threats. Think about how they sound. Maybe practice in a mirror just a little before going with those live. I don't know. He's like 5 minutes away from just going full tilt with the old Steve Corino thumb in the bum gimmick from Ring of Honor in what was that, like 2010 or something? Oh, hello, Celeste. But yeah, so that is my jobber of the night this evening, which now does take us to higher ground and happier places for the NXT megastar of the night. All right. Kind of love the applause. It's been a while, guys. It's been a while. All right. So my megastar of the night. It's probably goes without saying. Look, there was a lot of choices tonight. Like I said, everybody did such a just fired on all cylinders. It was the go home show for Heatwave. They were in Philly. It had so much energy there. But I love to choose from here. I thought perhaps Tyra may steal for her performance on the mic here tonight. Like I said, her holding her own, sitting across from two very competent stick workers. So I gave her a lot of consideration, but just because of the performance and what could possibly happen Sunday, I went with the young OG Javon Evans as my megastar of the night tonight. Like I said, he didn't get the bulk of the offense in this match, but the crowd was with him, and it was great. It was great, and him getting the victory here tonight. This is huge. They've given a lot to Javon Evans in his time here. He's, for someone so young and still relatively new to the roster, he's been in several PLE main events. And like I said, he's got just a bright future ahead of him. So my megastar of the night going to Javon Evans with a very, very, very close, runner up there by Tyra Mayfield. Like I said, I was just blown away by her on the mic tonight, and blown away by Javon in the ring, as I am almost every single time I see him walk between those ropes. Or actually, not really walk between the ropes, leap over them effortlessly. That's a better way to describe that. Oh, guys, I want to give you a little bit of appreciation for tuning in here tonight. I think y'all. I know it's been about a month since I'd been live with you guys, and I apologize for that. Life be life, and but things should be a little smoother going forward here. Should be able to make it without really many interruptions. And hey, I will be around Sunday night for Heatwave after that event. Looking forward to that Sunday. And I talked to CJ this afternoon. Like I said, unfortunately, CJ had something come up, wasn't able to make it here tonight. But he and I are planning to bring back the Weekend Wrestling Roundup this September. So I hope you guys will tune back in for that. CJ and I absolutely loved doing that show. And yeah, we're looking forward to bringing it back to y'all next month here. Not too far away, guys. Not too far away. But hey, if you guys had a good time tonight and enjoyed what you saw and heard, I've got some good news for you. Dirt Sheet Radio is around all the time. Professional wrestling never stops, and Dirt Sheet Radio is always on. Ladies and gentlemen, we are always around for NXT on Tuesday nights. We're working on getting Monday nights back on, guys. There's been some hiccups there, but we're working on getting back live on Monday nights. But we are live for Tuesdays every night live every Tuesday for NXT. And Wednesday nights, you can check out the Dirt Sheet Radio flagship program. And it also includes the rewind for AEW as well. 2 shows for the price of 1. Free, just like all of our content, guys. But Thursday nights, you can check out our sister program. That is the TNA Impact Rewind. And, of course, Fridays are for SmackDown when that can happen. And, guys, on the weekends, like I said, CJ and I are really hoping to bring back the roundup soon. It's going to be in September, probably mid-September. We are coming back, guys, I promise. And also on the weekends, be sure to check out the 3NT podcast. The guys bring the week of news and wrestling like no one else can. But guys, thank you again for tuning in to Dirt Sheet Radio. Molly and I appreciate it. It's good to be back, guys. It wasn't fun being away for so long, and I'm sorry that we were. Molly, don't yawn. We're doing the plugs. But again, guys, thank you so much. Dirt Sheet Radio, again, we'll be back live tomorrow night with the Dirt Sheet Radio flagship podcast. So be sure to tune in for that tomorrow night, guys. And hey, Molly and I will see you Sunday, and we will again see y'all next Tuesday. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you again.
Maybe I'm better off just fading away. It's what I'm used to, this isolation. But deep down I long for connection. I shout for help, but no one